Do remember that all of Chapter 9 and 10 is officially due this Sunday. Practice test is open as well. That is not a grade. The sole purpose of that is to help you prepare for your test that you will have on Monday. Monday will not be a lecture day. It will be a day that you come in, take the test, and then you're free to go after that. The test opens up immediately at 5:30. So do make sure you have your lockdown browser taken care of. Did you get? Perfect. Sounds good. And then after that, you're free for the evening. That next Wednesday, we'll then get into chapter 12. Right? Yes, ma'am. I'm still editing it, but for a 2.5 hour test, I'm trying to keep it around 20 or less. So I figured I always try to guess 10 questions an hour for students. So depending on how easy the questions are, it may go up or down. So, but I'll have a final number for you. Yeah, I'll try to send out a notification on announcement on Blackboard of the kind of the breakdown. But I will say the practice test that you see is pretty similar to the test you have. So I will say if you can do the practice test pretty confidently, you should be pretty confident on the test. But if you do find yourself looking at your notes a lot for the practice test, then you need to make sure you get that concept down because you won't be able to have notes on the real test. Perfect, perfect. We were just about to get started. I feel like I would like this math lab a lot better if it just did the same thing we were doing and not something totally different. All right, so again, we're gonna get into slope-intercept form. That is basically just y equals mx plus b. So you're gonna be given different sets of information and asked to put it in this form, and that's pretty much this entire section. So the first way it can be presented to you, it's going to start off kind of like, I wouldn't say basic, but it's going to start off with just looking for certain parts of it. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to find the slope given 2 points. So in this case, given point 3 comma -1 and 4 comma 2. Right. To find slope, slope represents the m. So this right here is the slope that we're talking about. It is your rise over run. That's what we talked about Monday. It also represents the change in y over the change in x. So this little triangle here just represents change. Or a different word for that would be the difference. Right? So because of that's what it represents, we're able to form an equation. And we can just find the difference between y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you're pretty much just taking the difference of the y divided by the difference of the x. Now, the best thing I like to do is to label my points to keep me organized. This is your x1. This is your y1. This is your x2. This is your y2. What x1 and y1 represent is your first point that was given. X2 and Y2 represents the second point given. Again, to organize your information, once you have it all labeled, now all you have to do is plug it into your formula. So my Y2 represented 2 minus y1 happens to also be a -1. So this is where students usually will make a mistake, but the minus is part of the formula. And then I'm going to plug in a -1. So it is a minus a negative. I know it looks weird, and we'll simplify this here in a second, but that is usually, if a mistake has happened, that's where it's at. So the minus sign comes from the equation, and then the negative comes from the actual number. Okay. And then on bottom, my x2 was 4, minus, because it's in the formula, 3. Before I work this out, are we okay plugging it into this equation? Good. It represents the change or the difference in y and x. So this is kind of, sometimes you'll see slope represented like this. I think the symbol is actually called delta, the Greek letter delta. I think it's what it's called. You see it a lot in your science courses, but it just represents the change in something or the difference in something. So when I ask for the delta y, or the change in y, I'm basically asking you subtract your y's and then subtract your x's. No, it's just these are all different notations for the exact same thing. So slope is the letter M, which graphically means rise over run, which algebraically means the change in y over the change in x. And then a formula way is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All of these all mean the exact same thing. It's just different notations you might see in your book on a question. If you look up videos or anything, these are the things you will see. After that, you just kind of do the math. These minus a negative situation, what do two negatives make? Positive. So this is really 2 plus 1. Mm-hmm. So what do we get? 3. And then on the bottom, it's 4 minus 3. So it'll be 1. And 3 divided by 1 simplifies down to 3. And that's your final ultimate answer there. Okay? All right, so let's do another one. So again, I want you to find the slope. Oh, never mind. There's a second part to your question there. Find the slope and then graph. The graphing part's the easy part, because all you have to do is go graph those 2 points. So in this case, I'm going to graph the first point. So 3, -1. Let's see if y'all remember from Monday. How do I get to 3, -1? Perfect. So there's my first point. How do I graph 4, 2? Perfect. Again, just like Monday, takes 2 points to make a line. Oh, pretend it's a straight line. There you go, something like that. Perfect. So the graphing part's actually easy because they give you the points. You just got to graph them. This finding the slope gets harder. Can get hard. For the equation or for the graph? It didn't matter. I just moved from left to right like a book. So I'll do this first point and then this second point, but it actually doesn't matter. The equation does matter. So notice it's the second y value minus the first, the second x value minus the first. That part does matter, but graphically, no, because you're just going to plot them and connect them with the line anyways. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm telling you, frustrates me. All right. All right. But I think on y'all's homework, you just add it's like you put the point and then there's a line button and then you just connect them and it just does it for you. Yeah. You just got to make sure you put the points in the right spot on the graph. Other than that, it just does the line for you. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do this again. Make sure we have good examples and understanding. We're going to find the slope given 0.5 and 4.2, then graph. So again, my slope is m. And then the formula is the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. To help me out, I like to label. I'll call the first point x1, y1, second point x2, y2. A lot of students want to skip this step, but I do feel like this is a very important step because then after that, you're just plugging in. So my y2 in this case is 2 minus, because it's part of the formula, y1 is 5 divided by x2 is 4 minus, because it's part of the formula, x1 is 0. And then you just work it out. What is 2 minus 5? You can. That's it. So it's a negative what? Negative 3. So you have $2, but you want to buy something that's 5, you still owe 3. 4 minus 0, 4. If the fraction can simplify like the last one, do it. If it can't, you just leave it as is. So that's where that calculator would come into handy as well, because then you'd be able to just type 3/4 and get 3/4 right back out. You can't go any further. And then graph it. The two given points, yeah. So how do I graph 0, 5? Perfect. We're going to pretend they're all nice, evenly spaced. And then how do I graph 4, 2? Good. And then just connect those two. Oh my gosh. Connect those two points to make a line. Oh, man. All right, we're good there so far. All right, so we're going to continue finding slope, but now given some different information. So again, we're going to find. Did I miss that part? Okay, good. Okay, so what they want us to do now is they want us to find the equation and slope, and you need to find slope to find the equation anyways, of a horizontal line that goes through the point 3, -2. One point, but the fact that it's a horizontal line going off of Monday is what type of equation? Do y'all remember? It's all right. A horizontal line is always going to be y equals some number. And in this case, if it goes through this point, which one of these numbers do you think will be the answer if the equation of a line is y equals a number? Very good. It's going to end up being the y value. So the equation is y equals -2. Now, it didn't ask me to graph it, but I'm going to graph it and see if you can determine the slope. And then from there, it's just a memorization game. If I got a point at 3, -2, I'm going to go right 3, down 2. But a horizontal line, if you recall, does this right here. What do you think the slope of that line is? It is, in fact, 0. So technically the reason is because if we do rise over run, so let's say m is equal to rise over run. How much did this line rise? So let's say I have a point here and a point here. This is another point on the line. How much did it rise to go from this point to this point? Remember, rise is up or down. Yeah, I got. So rising here, I didn't go up at all. I just went right. And if I wanted another point, I'd be another right, and so on and so on. So since I did not go up, I did not rise. So my answer to rise would be 0. Now my run would be the 1 that you were talking about. I did run 1. But what is 0 divided by 1? 0. So the moral of this story is a horizontal line will always have a slope, that's what m represents, of 0. Will always have a slope equal to 0. And to make this a little bit easier for you, what you can say instead of a is that your horizontal line will be y equals y1. So if I was still to label this, that was my answer to my equation. So you didn't have to graph this. The only thing you had to do was produce an equation and a point. And this would be one of those questions I would say is like a definition-based question. There's not much math going on, but I just want you to know, do you know that a horizontal line is just the y equals the y value? And then do you know the slope is 0? And that's all it's checking. So rise would be going up. So I didn't go up or down. So my rise was 0. But then I did go over 1 value. So then I ran 1. But 0 divided by 1 is 0. So that's why the slope is always 0. Oh, I just made it. Well, since I drew this line, that means that all of these points are available to choose from. So I could have chose this one. I could have chose this one. I could have gone backwards. But the issue is I never rose to get to any of them. I just went, I either ran maybe, and you could have said, for instance, maybe I went to that second point. 0 divided by 2. It's still going to be 0. So it's not going to matter where you went. Your slope is still 0. So yeah, so you mathematically, you didn't actually have to do anything. But I wanted to make sure you understood these concepts. This is what you have to have like kind of memorized. So again, I would call these questions on a test a memory fact kind of question. No math needed, but do you remember horizontal line is y equals and the slope is 0? Okay. So let's talk about the other kind of line. So now we're going to find the equation and slope of the vertical line that goes through 2 comma, oh man, try that again, 2 comma 4. All right, so if you remember that horizontal line is y equals, what do you think the vertical line is going to be? X equals. So a vertical line will be x equals your x value. So in this case, my equation would be 2 because that is the focus point. So this is like your x1, y1. Now, to help you figure out the slope, I'm going to graph it, not required on this question. I'll go right 2 up 4. A vertical line basically just goes up and down. So when we talk about the slope, talking about the rise over run, I'm just going to grab another point that's on the line. This time, how much did I rise? Sure. If this is my point, I rose 4. How many did I run, though? Remember, run means going left or right. From this line, to get from this point to this point, I didn't do any running. Now, on a fraction, can you have 0 on the bottom of a fraction? Correct. No. This would mean that it's undefined. So the two facts you need to know from vertical line is that it's x equals, and that the slope or the m is undefined. A vertical line does not have a known slope. Yep. So what you'll see as an answer is undefined. So this is another fact question. They can be, but the goal is to try to remember them. I'm trying to remember if I knew any. Oh, yes, I do remember this. Oh, but no, it's not gonna be something you can remember. In my classroom, I actually spell the word horizontal horizontally and vertical vertically. So they can remember, oh, if it's this way, slope is 0, and it goes through the y-axis. Where vertical goes up and down, so that must be undefined, and it goes through the x-axis. I don't have authority over this room to put some little stickers or something like that. But maybe had some markers or something. But if you want to write it out or something, you could say like horizontally, and vertically, something like that. I don't know, something to kind of help you remember. All right, we're good here. Okay. Now this next process gets tricky, especially if y'all struggled with 9.4, which is the literal equations that we were looking at with the IPERT and all that stuff, because that's what we're doing for the rest of this section. But it's a two-step process. There we go. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, that's it. Make sure you move on to the rest of them, but ask me questions on that one, on when you screenshot it. That's good. Yeah, that's perfect. But yeah, just screenshot some questions to me and I'll answer them. Yeah. I have a snipping tool. Like when I go to this little windows here, I have a snipping tool already like in my computer. I think most Windows already have that. So if you snip it, you hit a new, and then I can snip the question. And so then it appears right here, and then I can hit this copy button, and then I can move on to an email, and then I can paste it on there. That too, because I did the exact same thing. I got a piece of paper and I sent a picture of it and sent it right back because that was the closest thing I had to me when I got the email. Or no, no. This was I just happened to be out of a meeting, got time to check emails, and I was like, I got a piece of paper right here before my next class, so I just kind of read through them. But yeah, but that's I assume it was built into every computer I've seen. Yeah. Yeah, it's that I don't even know. I know there used to be like a print screen button. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Whatever Google says to do, but that's how you can snip it. All right. So on question 5, we're going to find the slope and y-intercept. And what they're going to give you. Oh, and graph. Always got a graph. What they're going to give you is what we saw in 10.2, which was called standard form, which we easily found our x and y intercept and then just graphed those points and moved on. So to recall that, that would have been -4x plus 2y equals 12. So in 10.2, you were given this, and then we just looked for x and y intercept by plugging in 0 either for x or y, depending on what we were looking for. And this process, it's 2 steps, and then we will know exactly what our slope and y-intercept are. So here we go. Step 1, move the x to the other side by changing its sign. Now, I will like to also state that this works 99% of the time. There is that one time it doesn't work. And if we ever get a situation, I'll definitely show that to you. But I don't see any of those. Yeah, I didn't see any on this homework. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to move this -4x over. So if I move it to the other side, that 4x becomes a what? Positive. So I'm going to rewrite it. I now have 2y equals. Now note, I'm going to write the x first. So instead of a -4x, it moves over and becomes a I don't need to write a plus. It becomes a positive 4x. And then this 12 is already a positive, so I say plus 12. That's step 1. Change the sign of the x and move him over. We good with that? But do notice I did put him in the front, and there's a purpose to it, and I'll show you that after the second step. Step 2. Divide yep, every term by the number next to y. I will say sometimes there is no number next to the y, so you are done after step 1. So sometimes you don't even have to do step 2. But let me show you what that looks like. I got my 2y equals 4x plus 12. So I'm going to now divide every term by that number that was next to the y, which happens to be 2. Now, when we solve literal equations the first time, we just divided by 2 and called it a day. But I have to specifically do every term now so I can identify my slope and y-intercept. Okay. So these two will go away. I now have y equals, what's 4 divided by 2? And what's 12 divided by 2? All right, you have all the answers you need. Your slope, which is your m. Recall at the beginning of this lecture, I said y equals mx plus b. Which one of these numbers do you think is my slope? It's the, remember, m represents slope. So my slope here is just 2. So after we do this two-step process, the number that's next to the x, that's why I had you put the x first, so it's in this mx plus b format, is my slope. So slope is 2. How do they want you to write the y-intercepts? All right, ready for that last part? Oh, you don't have to do any plugging in. It's done. Yeah, you wanted the slope, and now you can pull the y-intercept. So my y-intercept, if you recall from Monday, was 0, comma b. In this situation, what is my b? 6. So my y-intercept is 0, comma 6. I want to go ahead and apologize now, but this is a b, and this is a 6. I know they look the same. Probably. Yes, because in your homework, it wants you to write it as a coordinate rather than just like b equals. A lot of times we'll just say y-intercept is 6 and move on. Well, good. Mine does not. A coordinate is an x and y point. So a coordinate point, so these guys right here, that's a coordinate that helps you graph. So this right here, my coordinate is 0, comma 6, because that's going to help us with this last part. So to graph it, I start with the y-intercept. So I start here. So how do I get to 0, comma 6? Perfect. So the first number, I will not go left and right. The second number, I go up and down. So I'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your first point. This guy, remember, is your rise over your run. It tells you, it's like your GPS. It tells you where the next point is. But if you can recall, how do I make a whole number into a fraction? So this is the same thing as 2 over 1. So from this point that I started at, I'm going to rise 2, run 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2 over 1. So this coordinate right here is was that 8, comma 1? And just like before, once you have 2 points, just make your line. So we start at the y-intercept, then your slope, it's like your GPS, it tells you where the next point's located. And once you have the second point, you're good to go. Don't need to do anything else. That's 8, comma 1 if you're trying to read the point. So I started at 0, comma 6. I rised 2. So I went up 2. Yeah, from that point, I went up 2, and then I ran 1 over. You're welcome. So I was at 6. So when I went up 2 more, I was at 8. And then I ran 1. So I went from 0 to 1. So 8, 1 would be the next point. No, this 8, 1 has nothing to do with any of these answers. That was just my second point that I needed to make a line. Because you have to have 2 points to make a line. Oh, you talking about how to get to this one? Correct. So from the origin, I would go up 8 over 1 to get to that point. But to get to that point, I went from where I started and I rose 2 more points and ran 1. That's just where I failed. Yeah, I used the slope to help me find, because technically, when we talk about that whole rise over run concept, you're rising 2, running 1. That line, that represents the slope. So if you're like, I don't know, if you ever built a ramp or done anything with angles or something, that angle of the slope, that's what that is. So like so I can draw it correctly. Yeah. 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 So this 8, 1 is not like what the answer is all the time. It's just that's what happened to fall on when I went up 2 over 1. And I only labeled it because I want to say on your homework, you might have to label a second point to get that second point to appear on the graph so you can make the line. Or it might just have you click it. I can't remember which one. I get confused between y'all and college algebra. But one of y'all's, I think you have to type the second point and then it'll make the line for you. And the other course, you just have to click it on the graph and it does the point for you. So I'll just make sure you had that point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. Correct. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. Oh gosh, you're so right. Yes, absolutely. It's 1/8. You're so right. Absolutely. Yep. Nope. You're dead perfect there because it's x comma y. Yeah. So we write the x comma the y, and I had these flipped. So I should go over 1 up 8. And I had it flipped as y and x. That's it. That's so sorry. That's my fault. Yeah. So if I go back like this coordinate over here, 2 comma 4, the 2 I would go right first and then up 4. To write it like this, I needed to go right 1 up 8. I had it backwards. 8 comma 1, I would have gone over 8 up 1. I would have been way over here. That's great that you caught that though. Yeah, no, good. That's perfect. That's perfect. No, it's correct. My coordinate was just labeled wrong. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been 1/8. Yeah, you're right, because this is my x and this is my y. Because I went over 1 up 8. Heck yeah, it's paid off already. Yeah. All right, let's do another one. Yep. So we're going to find the slope and the y-intercepts and graph. Oh, I thought the full moon had already happened. It was already crazy. Great. I thought it was already a bad day. I know what ESS is. Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. So we got 3x plus 2y equals negative 10. Let's start the process again. What do I do first? Perfect. And I want to put it in the front of it. So I now get 2y equals negative 3x minus 10. We still go with that first step? Good. So now I'm going to divide everything by 2. That's my second step. If you can't simplify the fraction, just leave it. Good. Negative 5. Perfect. Yes, ma'am? Divided by 2. I can't simplify it, so just leave it. And you don't want to turn this into a decimal because you're going to need that rise over run later. So might as well just keep it as a fraction. So now that it's in this form, what is my slope? The fraction, the negative 3 over 2. And then the y-intercept is what? Right as a coordinate for me. Perfect. And now once you have all that, the graphing part becomes a lot easier. I start with the y-intercept. So how do I get to 0, negative 5? Perfect. And then what is my slope telling me to do if I follow rise over run? What do you think we're going to do with that negative? We're going to go down. Very good. So from my negative 5, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to still run 2. Very good. I applied it to the top, so I don't got to stress about. Correct. Yeah. I will say that's a mistake students will make. They'll try to apply it to both. Only apply it to the top. Let's see if I can write this coordinate correctly. This would be 2, negative 8. But then once you have your 2 points, yeah, it's going to have like, I think on the homework, it's like 3 steps. Like step 1, what's the slope? And then you type it. Yeah. So we're good here? This right here, yes, this is a coordinate. Yes, I wrote the coordinate. I can't remember on whose homework is what. I want to say y'all just have to press it in the correct spot and then the line appears. And I think college algebra, I think they actually have to type the coordinate for the point to appear. And I forget which one's which. Everything's blending together in my head. I don't, because there's some things I think I taught y'all, but I'm like, no, I think I taught the other class that. So when I say now remember what happened Monday, I'm literally trying to remember what happened Monday. But yeah, so, and then there's one more type of question, and then this will pretty much be it for 10.3. So in question 7, they want you to find the equation given 0, negative 3 and a slope of 2/3. So when it asks for an equation, it wants the y equals mx plus b. But here's the things I need you to notice. 0, -3 is written how? What's special about the way this is written? It's my x and y, yes. But what's special about the fact that I went 0, a number? Well, yeah. Let's go back over here. What do you notice about this coordinate? It was on the y-axis, okay. What do you notice about this number? What does all three of those numbers all have in common? Or sorry, those coordinates all have in common? They all start with 0. If they all start with 0, then what kind of points are they? They're the y-intercept. And that's important. Intercept. Because what does the B represent? Is the y-intercept. So what makes this question important is it gave you the B. And slope is what letter? The M. And so therefore it gave you the M. So what this question's kind of getting at is, do you identify that this is the y-intercept without being told it's the y-intercept? And do you identify that the slope represents the M? Because if you realize those two things, then you can plug it into the formula and you're done. So your answer here would be y equals 2/3 x. Now, if I have a plus and my b is negative, what's that going to become? Good. So it becomes a -3. And that's it. So again, a lot of these questions, there's not a lot of math going on. It's really just seeing, hey, did you identify this was the y-intercept, which is the b? Did you identify that the slope is the m? And now can you just plug it in and be good? Yeah, in this case, we're not even asked to graph it. We're just asked to write the equation. So any questions on 10.3, which is the slope-intercept form? Correct. If you see a coordinate and it gives you 0, number, you instantly have the B. Now, your next question might be what happens when it gives you a coordinate that's not 0 first, and that's what 10.4 is all about. Yes. Ready? All right, we're going to try to get 10.4 in.